Julian Assange is a hero. He exposed government without limits. That's the arch enemy of personal freedom. Here to talk more about this is Dr. Alan Mendenhall, author, lawyer, professor, dean at Troy University. Professor Mendenhall, a pleasure, my dear friend. How important
Judge, thank you for having me on.
Of course. How important is it in a democracy for the people to know when the government is lying to them?
Well, it's essential, and that's why the framers of our Constitution had the foresight to include freedom of the press in the First Amendment. They were concerned about checking power and protecting rights against tyranny, but it's not hard to come up with a list of other reasons why it's important to protect the freedom of the press, whether it's having an informed citizenry, ensuring transparency from the government and accountability from the government, and orienting our lives based on facts, truth, and reality rather than shams, chimera, mistakes, or lies. It's also important to create an accurate historical record for posterity because people in the future will be making political and policy decisions based on what happened in the past. And if we don't have an accurate historical record, we will make mistakes in the future. So what Julian Assange did with WikiLeaks was actually a great public service to not just Americans, but to citizens from countries around the world.
Do you share my view of the government's prosecution of him, that it was profoundly unjust and in direct defiance to the Pentagon Papers opinion? And if you do share that, I suspect you do, how can the government get away with this when the Supreme Court has said what he did was perfectly lawful?
Yeah, there was a case in 2001 called Bartnicki v. Vopper, which did suggest that journalists can publish information that they had received that was hacked, stolen, or leaked. But I think some of the boundaries of that decision are kind of up in the air based on other appellate decisions. The government tries to justify actions like this based on, interests like protecting classified information, counterintelligence purposes, saying we're counteracting foreign spies, deterrence, suggesting they have to mitigate incidents of spying or espionage, and just trying to promote vigilance among intelligence agencies and the military. But the overriding interest is that of the citizens that are supposed to be protected by the government and by those intelligence agencies.
I have to give credit, Professor Mendenhall, where credit is due to President Obama, whose Justice Department recognized that the Pentagon Papers case protected Julian Assange. They decided to prosecute the thief. Manning had to be prosecuted. He directly committed espionage. He had a top secret national security clearance, and he stole these documents. That prosecution was perfectly proper. But the Attorney General Eric Holder advised the president, we can't prosecute Assange. And they were right. It wasn't until the Trump administration came into office and President Trump was furious that President Obama had let Bradley Manning, by then known as Chelsea Manning, out of jail, that they decided to go after Assange as well. I'll give you the last word, Alan.
Well, that's an important distinction to make. And I think the critical piece here is the publication of information that relates to public matters of public concern. I know there are debates about what constitutes journalism or a journalist, whether it's your affiliation, whether you have a portfolio of published work. It's not like you and I sat for bar examinations and became licensed lawyers. You can become a journalist by setting up a shop and publishing what you need to publish. And as soon as the public starts following you, you're a journalist.
Right.
And it's easier to become a journalist in this age of technology and social media. And without a doubt, Julian Assange was a journalist, and the prosecution of him, the persecution of him was inappropriate and illegal.
I can't wait until he starts revealing more documents. Alan Mendenhall, always a pleasure, my dear friend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Judge.